right, here we go. Welcome back to the Sharp Mind Podcast. It is Saturday, October 10th, 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And we are officially here with Women Build Women and her podcast and her wonderful, wonderful guest today, Queen Beverly and Queen Zell. One is a newly diagnosed breast cancer patient. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, I definitely mean no harm. Another is a 2-time surviving breast cancer patient. Am I saying that accurately? I'm not trying to offend or anything like that. I'm making sure we all on the same page. And of course, I got Queen Aisha here, who really is responsible for everything. I want to say I appreciate y'all for joining my platform. I know Queen Aisha appreciate you all for being on her platform. And of course, with it being October, we are here for breast cancer awareness. So welcome you all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Well, I'm doing this podcast today and this month to just bring awareness to breast cancer. I have Ms. Beverly here, as we stated. She's a newly diagnosed patient. And Mrs. Zell, she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So I wanted both of these ladies on the show so they can give their insight and just educate on what we can do before we get to that point where we're diagnosed. I'm going to hit on a few topics. And the first one is early detection. Ms. Zell, what is it that you feel that us young adults, people that are my age or maybe a little bit younger, can start doing now as far as early detection?
Okay, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to be on you guys' show. I'm really honored to be here.
It's a pleasure. Truly.
Thank you. As far as early detection, which is very important, I preach that all the time. Early detection could save your life. We, women and men, need to really pay attention to your bodies. When you see something abnormal, don't sit back and wait, because at that time it can go beyond your expectations.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is women every month should be checking their breasts. There's literature out there on how to examine yourselves to make sure, don't just overlook it and think that, oh, it's not going to happen to me because I'm not in my 40s or I'm not in my 50s. Sadly to say, you have more younger women being diagnosed with breast cancer now than ever before.
Wow.
I'm a 2-timer, as he mentioned. I am a 2-timer. I was pregnant with my daughters in the 80s. I have a set of twin girls and a son. But in the 80s, when I was pregnant with the twins, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And they overlooked it. I was in my 20s. They overlooked it. And they was like, oh, it's just unlikely. It's unlikely for a 20 or a 21-year-old to have breast cancer. That's just not possible. But by that time, when they discovered that there was something there, it was too late because I was pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant with twins, of course, at the time, but they couldn't do anything for me. So it was a battle between the waiting time, not knowing how far along or how bad it would get. But praise God, I made it through that. And then after I gave birth to my daughters, 3 months later, I ended up with a lumpectomy. Years passed through. 26 years later, it came back in my right breast. I'm sorry. And but the signs were let me go back to early detection. Being pregnant, as women, are in this conceiving, time, your breasts are engorged.
Right.
And
you have small lumps and.
Well, I didn't have any lumps. It was just, you would just become full.
Yeah.
Your body's preparing for milk. And so in that time, a lot of times what can happen is the lumps or the the ducts get infected or get swollen. Sometimes it just there's a stoppage. There's a blocking in the ducts. And a lot of times they overlook that and they'll say, oh, well, it's just a a fibrocystic tumor is what they claim it to be. And then as they went further and had it removed later after they were born, come to find out it wasn't that. But back in the 80s, they wasn't really harping on chemo and radiation as they're doing now. Back then they didn't. If they caught it early, they removed it, you're good to go. Some have radiation if it's in your lymph nodes, and some didn't. So there are different formats that are used as far as early detection.
Okay. Ms. Zell, what do you think the age should be for you to have your breast examined? I know most doctors and physicians say age 40 is maybe should be the first time you have your breast examined. But what age do you feel that you should have your breast examined
Thank you.
professionally by a physician?
Thank you for asking that question. I'm glad you asked. I disagree with the physicians on that. I feel that a woman should have an exam, especially if it's in the family, should be have the opportunity to be examined at 25.
Okay.
Some people would disagree with me on that. Some people say that's just too much radiation so young in age. But sadly to say, women are 25 and 26 and 30 being diagnosed, with that. I have a nonprofit organization, and the majority of the women that are my sisters now are under the age of 40, and or within that range, within the 26 to 48 range.
Right.
And which is under, the age range, which is 50 is what they claim. Myself, I was re-diagnosed again at 47. So still, that's younger than 50 or 60 or 80 or whatever the case is. Most time in the 80s, they don't really do much for you. But again, I feel, to answer your question, at the age of 25, no later than 26, people should have the opportunity to be examined, to have a mammogram without being neglected for that reason. Because we have too many young women are being diagnosed now.
Awesome. Okay. And Miss Beverly, what do you have on early detection? What do you feel like things that we should do or incorporate in
Well, I
ourselves?
was going to say is regarding early detection, for one, when she mentioned don't ignore your body. Because what happened with me, I was having pain in my right breast. And I kept, ignoring it. And then I knew I was due for a mammogram. And I kept putting it off.
Okay.
And so, but because I didn't feel anything, it was hurt, but I never felt nothing. So I had a appointment to go to the doctor for a bone density test. So, and I said, when I was laying in the bed that particular night, I just happened to lay a certain way, and that's when I felt the lump. And I said, okay, so when I go to the doctor for this test, I'm gonna make an appointment for my mammogram, because I knew something wasn't right.
Right.
And so when I got to the doctor and was having this other test, I literally forgot. And so I just feel like it was divine intervention, because the lady was looking at my record. She said, you need to have your mammogram. And I said, and it just jarred my memory to having, so they took me in that day. And of course, that's when they found the lump, and then I had to come back for the ultrasound, and they did a
Further
biopsy.
testing.
Yeah, but I say do not ignore your body.
Okay.
You know, when you feel something wrong, go to the doctor and find out what's going on, and don't put off your mammogram.
Okay. Well, the next topic I'm gonna go into is receiving the news, and what did that mean for you and your family, Miss Beverly?
Well, when I heard the C word, I'm telling you, I kind of froze, and it's like it was hard to process. I didn't even want to say the word.
Right.
I just kept saying the C word. I wouldn't say cancer. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. And it took me a while to process it. And then I was very careful and very selective about who I told.
Yes.
Because I think it's real important to have positive people. You don't want to hear that negative talk.
Encouraging people.
And the first thing that really came to my mind was I started to think about all the people that I knew that had it in their outcome, because everybody's outcome is not the same.
Right.
And so it's a fear. And so I had to get a grip of that fear. Faith over fear.
Faith over fear, yes.
So that's, basically that's what happened. I had to just process it.
Okay. And Ms. Zell, what about you? How was it for you receiving the news of having breast cancer, and what did that mean for you being a newly mom of newborns and so young?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
All right, we are on the Sharp Mind podcast and the Women Build Women podcast, and we're gonna continue this wonderful conversation with these wonderful ladies.
Okay. The question was receiving the news of having breast cancer, and what did that mean for you and your family, especially being a young mom with twin newborns?
Back then it wasn't as shocking or scary as it is now.
Mhm.
And I say that because I had my mother with me back then, and my sister, my father, and my brothers, everybody, my aunts and uncles, everybody was there. And I was young, you know, you kind of silly at that age. You don't, you know, you're in college, yeah. You know, in college, not really paying attention. It's like, oh, okay, mama's here with me, I got this.
Right.
The hit, or falling out the barrel, in a sense, me falling out of a barrel, in a sense, was when I was diagnosed the second time. And it hit me hard. It hit me because I was at work when I got the news. I got the call from the doctor's office at my job. And they did me, they told me at work. And that was the hard hitter because I then realized, I felt anyway, that I was in this fight alone. Because my mother was no longer here. My father's no longer here. You know, my mother was a missionary. My father was an elder. He was, you know, a preacher. So I had that strength, and I had my family. Don't get me wrong. I had my siblings and others, my children, what have you. But this time, it was different. I felt as though my mother left a torch for me to go and find, to pick that up and light it and carry it on. And that's what I'm doing now. So to get the news at work was the hitter. I didn't understand. Not saying I didn't understand cancer. I didn't understand why. Me. And why again.
Right.
And how am I going to deal with this now? I have 3 children, a set of twins and a son. All 3 of my children are in college. I had one in med school at the time, one going to school to get her second master's, and my son starting out in his freshman year in college. And at the same time helping, you know, family and being a support for others. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? How can I live with hearing the word, I'm sorry, Miss Randall, you have cancer? And to hear that at work, I just felt like as though somebody said, stand up for a minute. And I stand up and do what they tell me. And they say, have a seat. And the minute I sit down, they snatch the chair from me and I hit the floor. That's how it felt. I don't know how it hit me so hard to where it's like I couldn't give, that's the only analogy that I can describe how I felt. It was very hurtful because it's like, okay, what do I do now? And when my children came home, we were going to Ann Arbor to tell my son. And I lost it. My other twin was riding with me, and I was driving, and I let go of the wheel. And she was like, Mom! And she grabbed the wheel. She's like, we got to pull over, pull over, pull over. And I just broke down because I then realized, I'm like, how do I deal with this? What does this mean? Does it mean this is the end of my life? Does it mean that I stand up like, Mama? You know, yeah, you don't know. You don't know. And it wasn't until later until I made up my mind. I'm like, no, I'm not going out like this. I'm going to fight this thing. And whatever it takes, I'm going, if I have to go down, it's going down with a fight. It's that old saying, it's like, you may beat me up, but you're going to know you was in a fight too. That's what I meant by that. I had to really realize it in my faith. You know, enemy, you got me today. But tomorrow it's a comeback. And I'm coming back harder, and I'm coming back harder. And I'm going to keep coming back until I gather as many sisters and brothers that are dealing with this fight until we lock arms together and form our own ribbon, and our ribbon of faith. Our ribbon of
women is about locking arms and building each other up and supporting. I'm so happy and glad you said that. And I do want to say again, I appreciate both of you ladies coming out on my show.
Yes.
And speaking on breast cancer awareness. The next topic is, how have your diet changed, or what should, I spoke with both ladies, they both said they know what they should be eating.
Right. We know.
Yeah, what should we take out of our diet now as young adults, and start eating or stop eating?
Well, for me, I had my brother who had a different type of cancer, leukemia. And so he, you know, he's one of those avid readers. He do research and stuff. And so he started researching and, you know, heard this even with holistic doctors saying that white sugar is not good for you. That cancer, that breeds cancer. And really we should get away from the white sugars and the red meat. You know, and there's more fruit and vegetables. But, you know, I'm not going to say my diet has
changed drastically
yet, but I am trying to do better. Yeah. But that white sugar, I do know that that's not good.
Okay.
I agree. I have to agree with her on that. That was the first thing the nutritionist told me when I was had to meet. So I had a team, you know, the oncologist, radiologist, dietitian, surgeon, plastic surgeon. I had a whole team, you know, hematologists and all of them standing there, and it was almost kind of spooky because they were standing. So you had that too, kind of standing in your face like, yeah, come on, we got you.
Yeah,
you know?
like you're an experiment.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and it was kind of frightening actually. But the main thing the nutritionist advised, the dietitian rather advised, she says you have to. She said if anything white ain't right, if it's green, it's lean, and it's gonna help your blood. And she said stay away from white carbs, you know, things that white like the flours, the sugars, carbonates, any kind of like pops, of course. Because you mentioned that, and I've been craving that a lot lately. Sugar, I'm a candy eater. I love candy. I'm not gonna sit here and lie about it. I do. I have my issues.
What's your favorite candy?
All of it. the caramel creams.
I'm not a candy eater, but I love starch. I love fries, potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, I love potatoes. It's like any potato, just let me have it. So I get that together.
Yeah.
Okay. The next topic will be what advice can you give someone going through chemo or who was recently diagnosed? Miss Beverly, you want to start us off?
You said, what would I say that again now?
What advice can you give someone going through chemo or who was recently diagnosed? So someone who's going through chemo right now
somebody
and who was recently diagnosed, what advice do you have for them to stay strong and just continue to
I'm going to tell
fight?
you what I do. This is what I do. I do a lot of praying, interceding.
Yes, ma'am.
I do, and I stay get in my word to encourage me to lift my spirit. Because you really got to, and surround myself with people that are going to feed me what the word of God says. Because at the end of the day, it's what the word say. It ain't what it look like. It look one way, but it's like I'm going to stand on the word. When you done all, stand on the word. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly, 100%, totally concur with her. That's the only way. It really is. You know, I think about the scripture. He says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And that's exactly what we're doing. When you're diagnosed with cancer, you're actually walking through the valley.
You're in a fight.
You're in a fight. And that word, just like with our organization, Living Brave Through Breast Cancer, I didn't just say living through or living breast cancer, no, living brave through it. You have to find your bravery in the word. You have to literally pick up your sword, which is the Holy Spirit, which is the word of God, and fight that thing. In that sense, speak the life in you, because I had got to a point when I was really, really sick, when I decided to have a double mastectomy. They caught it in time enough where I could do something with it. So thank God it wasn't in my lymph nodes or anything. So I decided to I'm like, cut them off. Let's do something else. Let's find another way. And I was willing to go flat. But now they got to do surgery, the deflap, so I tripped off on that and did something different. Long story short, I had to really speak to this situation. And it was a night when I cried. Oh God, I was like, Lord, come on, just let me go home with Mom and Daddy. Let me just, I was ready. But then my stepmom came over and she prayed with me, and that later that night I got up and I just started saying, devil, you a lie. You have no rights. I give you no rights to my life anymore. I give you taking authority over that situation. And I told her, I said, how dare you try to take my life in the midst of after I get my kids through college. They're in college, and you're not going to let me see them cross that threshold. You got another story coming. And I asked God to hold out on it.
Awesome. Okay. What tips, I guess this question is geared towards you, Ms. Dale. What tips can you give someone who has now overcome or have gone through and now is on the other side and is whole and now is a survivor?
Oh wow, that's an awesome question. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I'm gonna give you an analogy. When I was married, I remember we were coming. Long story short, we were coming from Detroit going back to Memphis, and I was driving. I had just bought a brand new truck, so I'm getting used to this big old expedition. And I'm a small woman, short. And I get this big truck and this big tall husband at the time, and we were riding, and we was coming into a storm. And I got scared. I said, I got to pull over. I can't drive this. He said, you're going to have to. We can't pull over. There's nowhere to pull over. And I was so scared. I was like, I can't do it. He said, you got to do it. And he started fussing at me. You're not going to kill us in this car. You're going to get us through this storm. You know, and I'm holding on to dear life, and I'm scared, and I'm crying. And then we get through it. And he said, pull over. And I pulls over. And I'm like shaking. He said, get out the car. He said, I want you to stand here and watch what you just went through. You got us through the storm. Mm-hmm. Now, ex or not, the fact of the matter is God used him in that moment to have him give me a reflection of where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. And so I say to those who have gone through or coming out, stand there and look at what God brought you through. Mm-hmm. And just start praising him for that. Mm-hmm. And then take up where you left off and grab another sister or another brother that's going through it and letting them know, I made it and you can too. Mm-hmm. It's all what you think and what come out your mouth.
Yes.
Okay. If you think defeat, you will be defeated. Yes. If you think I can't defeat this, you will defeat it. We have authority. God has given us ordained. He ordained us to give. He gave us ordination. We don't have to be ordained by a minister or a pastor of a church or anybody to walk through our fight. Okay. You know, we have to, God has given us authority. He said, speak. He said, what comes out your mouth? There's life and death in the power of that tongue. Yes. So with that power, we have to speak power over our life. Now, here's the thing. All of us going to one day leave. But if you ain't ready, you ain't going nowhere. That's how I look at it, with this anyway. Okay. You have to have faith to know that you're going to come through. I'm also a stroke survivor. I had a stroke. I had 2 strokes. Paralyzed. My baby, I couldn't even wipe the tears from my eyes. Oh, wow. I'm still here. I'm able to do it. With broke wrist now, I'm still able to do what I'm able to do. So I'm a yes, I'm a living witness that I truly believe there's life and death in the power of the tongue. Yeah. I believe if you believe and you want to be here, then you have a right to be here, and God give you that ordination to be here. He said, take dominion over this kingdom. This is a kingdom here too. Take dominion over your kingdom. Take dominion over your life. And that's what I believe. So we have to speak life. Lord, I thank you for my healing. Lord, I thank you for allowing me to survive. Lord, I thank you for letting me touch somebody else's life. You know, those are the things I had to speak to myself in order to get through it. And I had to learn and understand what it meant to live brave through breast cancer, even though I was, in a sense, realistically afraid.
Yeah, because you had your days.
I had to fight. I had to fight with fear. But awesome. There it is, like you said, faith. Faith over fear. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good mask there. Faith over fear.
Yes, made by women, build women. Faith over fear. Purchase now.
That's the opposite.
DM to purchase.
DM to purchase.
Right.
For your breast cancer awareness gear.
That's right.
What resources can you lead someone to have in a support system? Because everyone don't have a good support system or don't have family that's left to support them, how they need to be supported through these trying times.
Well, I have a nonprofit organization named Living Brave Through Breast Cancer. It's a 501c3 organization, so that's one resource. We are here to help. It's based off of referral, and once that person is referred, they fill out an application online, and then the committee review the application, and if you have been accepted in, then you will receive a letter, of acceptance. Okay. And then we also have a breast friend support group that we just started, so we newbies in that. But that is a source where we come together and help one another. We share each other's stories, We share each other's stories to try to help each other get through. We really bond like sisters. All of our experiences is dealing with cancer, but all experiences are different. Everybody step through is different. It's just like giving birth to a child. If you ever given birth, every pregnancy is different. Every woman that's gone through pregnancy go through it in different ways, but yet it's still the same. So we come together, and we used to have meetings, but because of COVID, we kind of slowed down we stopped actually for that reason. And we recently did a Zoom meeting, which was really awesome. We had a good time, with that. But once we get it back together, then there's more resources that we're going to be providing for them. Mental health, where you'll actually have therapy, be able to have therapy going through it, because you do need help. Nobody is exempt from that. I need it, going through it, because it's hard. Your life has changed. I look at my body now, it's not the same body that I used to have before. I was okay with the Nutty Professor grandma boobs, but I don't have none now, you know, where they had to recreate what I have, and they don't look like y'all's, you know, but I'm okay with it because if you looked at me, you never would know that if I had not told you. So I'm grateful for that. But the long situation with that, the other situation to that is that we provide resources. We provide mental, spiritual, financial, and physical health. We're there for one another, in a sense. You know, our whole goal is to support, to lift one another up, no matter what. We just lost one of our sisters through this battle, and it was such a beautiful sight. I actually prayed and asked God if any one of us during our demise make it a way where we can come together and be that support for that person. And we were all there, you know, at her homegoing, and it was the most beautiful sight I had ever seen in my life. It just broke me down for the fact that I prayed and asked God to allow us to be there for her even to the end. And we were able to come together, people from all walks of life, you know, all areas of metropolitan Detroit, as sisters, whites, blacks, it didn't matter, whatever nationality, whatever religion, whatever, you know, race, we were all there together to support that one sister and her husband and their children. So that's our biggest thing, is a matter of being there, because you could talk to people that's gone through stuff like that, but nobody really understands unless you walked a mile in that person's shoes, or you going down that road. You know, it's like, I could be a support for you, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's how I feel, you know what I mean? But I know I can bring awareness.
Yes.
But I know I can't sit there and tell you like, oh, I know how you feel. Like,
Exactly.
I don't.
And that's what I love about the connection that we have with Living Brave, is because each year we come back and support the next group. So I'm class of 2017. So each one of us have a class of each. You know, like 17, 18, 19, 20. This year's class of 2020. And we be in there for one another. We also have, it's not just the survivors and fighters, but we also have caregivers and supporters. So we rounded up as a family of families. Each one reach one. That's what our goal is that we all come together, because everybody's been affected by cancer some way or another. Whether it be breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, tongue cancer, throat cancer, it doesn't matter. Something, leukemia, you know, as you were saying, my mother had bone cancer. It came back with multiple myeloma. My cousin died of lymphoma. You know, those things is, and we're actually working another program too called Living Brave Through Cancer, is another event, the entity of Living Brave Through Breast Cancer that we're starting. So it's a matter of the resources is through Carmelos. We are connected through that, through Carmelos.
Okay.
And partnered with one of the young ladies that came in last year about ovarian cancer, because believe it or not, ovarian is a relation to breast cancer. There's a connector
Really?
there.
Oh, wow.
There's a connector to that. Yeah.
See?
So you know
Learn
that.
something new every day.
Yes, it sadly to say, but that runs right into the next stage. You know, it could go into that if you're not. That's why it's so important to pay attention. It's so important to pay attention
Early
to your body.
detection.
Because mine, the left breast started turning black, but it wasn't the one with the cancer, and it was the right one.
Oh, wow.
My daughter, who is a doctor, who's an MD, phenomenal doctor, you know, was the one. She was getting married. They were for the bridal shower, and she was like, "Ma, why is your breast black? What's going on with your breast?" And I said, "You could see that." She's distance from and she could see the distance of the darkness of my breast. I said, "You could see that from there?" And she said, "Yeah, you need to get that checked out." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm straight." And she said, "No, you're not doing our hair until then." So I'm glad I did. I wouldn't be
I
here.
am too. I am too. Awesome.
I just, anybody that's going through it, just be encouraged. Just trust God through it.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
Awesome. Okay, ladies and gents, I greatly appreciate you, Miss Beverly, and you, Miss Zell, for coming out. I'm so appreciative. So appreciative. That's my other mama. I love her to death, just like my mama. But to life. I love her to life, just like my mama.
That's right.
But yes, I'm so appreciative of both of you guys, like really, really coming out to allow me to make this happen, allow me to give awareness to breast cancer and cancer in general, like you were just saying. So thank you so, so, so much for helping women build women. Build women.
It's an honor.
And I also want to thank you. Can I step into your camera
Sure.
shot? I want to thank y'all.
Come on.
I appreciate y'all because as a man, there was a few times I wanted to kind of chime in, but I learned some more just from listening. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I really appreciate the wisdom y'all shared, the knowledge, the education, the confidence, the hope and the faith. It's, I think that's extremely important. I got a little sister, 14 years old, who I know can learn from this. My auntie, who recently just got diagnosed with breast cancer, it's very informational. So I really appreciate y'all. And thank y'all for sharing everything that y'all did on the Women Build Women platform.
Shot by the Sharp Mind podcast.
And the Sharp Mind platform. But one thing I ask everyone who come on the show, and I'm so excited to ask you all this, but I ask everyone, hey, if you can go back and talk to your younger self, that 14-year-old you, 16-year-old you, 18-year-old you, however it may seem, what are some encouraging words that you would tell yourself? What would you what is something that you would tell yourself?
Make better choices. Praise God. Make some better choices. And listen and quit acting like you think you know everything. That's what I would do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would do the same thing. I would say make better choices, but I would also add to that, never let anyone tell you what you can't do. If you believe, if you have a dream or a desire to do something positive, never let anyone tell you what you're not able to do. Try it for yourself first. See, in a sense, in a positive way, not a negative way, of course.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of little girls, I had dreams to do things, and I was told that I would never amount to be anything. And I believed that until I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's when I said, I'm not going to let my past as a child dictate my present or my future. And at this point, that's the very thing to do is to pick up the torch that my mother left behind to go help other people, because that's what she did. She always helped somebody. She's always was there lending hand some way. And that's my thing. If I tell my younger self, don't let anybody discourage you. Find your dream and go for it.
Sweet. That answer rocked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Women, I'm sure I'm speaking for, I'm going to say Women Build Women. I know appreciate y'all.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Greatly appreciate
Thank you
you,
for a
ladies.
wonderful show, y'all. Thank y'all for y'all time, y'all kindness, y'all generosity. Queen Naisha, I appreciate you.
As
Thank
always.
you for your platform and our teamwork on this.
Awesome. We did.
Good looking. I appreciate y'all. This is the Sharp Mind Podcast. This is the Women Build Women Podcast. And we are making people more aware about breast cancer because it is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes.
Let's get it. We are on the Sharp Mind. Let's go.